Music has mattered in Juneau, Alaska since the town's volunteer symphony was founded 50 years ago, around the time Alaska became the 49th U.S. state, to bring a touch of class and culture to this remote and rugged capital city and its 30,000 citizens. A middle-class town of people working in state government, prospering from the added benefits of tourism generated by Juneau's scenic landscape and glaciers. Though not everyone here has prospered. A sour note in recent years has been Juneau's impoverished low-income community. Particularly the underachieving performance of kindergartners here at Glacier Valley Elementary, where a disturbing 70% of them recently tested below standard reading and math levels. The seemingly impossible task of reversing this alarming trend handed to music teacher Lori Hagee.
You can tell that's way out of tune, isn't it?
Hagee says she immediately noticed low self-esteem levels among students here, not unlike her own problems with confidence as a child growing up in Pennsylvania.
I really struggled with reading, very slow.
Hagee says she remembers the day that all changed, when she began singing words from a poem that she initially found too difficult to read.
And my teacher heard me, and we turned it into a musical. And it was the first time that I felt really confident and felt good about myself as far as a reader, and that music is a great way to be able to express that and for people to feel part of something.
This philosophy cemented decades later, says Hagee, when, before arriving at Glacier Valley Elementary School, she traveled to Venezuela as one of the first international fellows to become trained in El Sistema, or the System, a Venezuelan program that uses music as a vehicle for social change. That since 1975 has reached more than 4 million mostly poor children around the world, including here in the United States, like here in Juneau. Hagee naming her own El Sistema-inspired music program JAM, short for Juneau, Alaska, Music Matters. An educational journey for her young 5- and 6-year-old students that begins with learning to play the violin.
JAM, Juneau, Alaska Music Matters, is an El Sistema-inspired program that came from Venezuela.
Ready? Here we go.
And it's music that helps us develop exceptional human beings. Music builds those critical habits that you need to be successful, so that when our students deal with failure, they don't just quit. Our hope is that they know how to pick themselves back up and continue to persevere, because they know in music it's very hard to master all of these things, but then they see the product of what happens when they continue with it.
That product, learning to focus and self-discipline in their core classrooms, says kindergarten teacher Kay Peters. Her kids, she says, benefiting from 90 minutes each week in Lori Hagee's music room for JAM.
When we started JAM, it's just been amazing as far as the focus and the on-task behavior that we have in our classrooms. The kids are so much more confident in themselves. And myself as a teacher, I'm more confident. I have learned so much. I can play the violin.
Remarkably, since Hagee's JAM program has gotten underway, most students here that were once failing in reading and math are now passing.
Yay! You know what I liked was that you weren't sure you knew it, but you just kept playing the note until you got it.
The transformation here earning Hagee Teacher of the Year honors, including praise from President Barack Obama for the impact her JAM program has had on education at Glacier Valley Elementary. Now in its third year, JAM has 170 students participating from kindergarten through the 2nd grade. That's a lot of little, hard-to-come-by violins that many families of these children could not afford. To the rescue came Guoha Shah. Guoha Shah arrived here in Juneau some 30 years ago as a music student himself from China to join the town's volunteer symphony. Upon hearing about JAM's need for violins, Shaw convinced a violin store in China called the 7 Color String Shop to donate them.
This comes from 7 Color String Shop. and the shop located in Sichuan, Chengdu.
Now a private music teacher in Juneau, Shaw also donates free group lessons to Heggie's kids 1 day a week.
The man from China, Guo Huasha, he's the man who keeps this going and keeps all of us together.
Ready, go! Dun, 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 dun. Hey!
Joining Shaw here once a week is his top private student, David Miller.
We are proud to present David Miller.
Miller is a rising star, a noted concerto violinist in Juneau. Showing Heggie students that with hard work, they too can make it to a bigger stage in their lives.
That was really impressive. I've never seen that high of an E string.
Lori Heggie's contagious energy, say her fellow teachers here, coupled with the dramatic success of her jam program, has ignited an awakening here, a movement of sorts throughout the school to get students of all ages here more motivated by learning to play all instruments. Not even Juneau's snow boot inclement weather here, says Heggie, can stop the parade. Heggie, a Pied Piper, inspiring other teachers here to revolutionize education through various unique music programs. Teacher Susie Denton has a German-inspired Drums Alive class to improve students' kinesthetic awareness of their sensory and motor skills.
Kids today need to move, and we find that there are more and more kinesthetic learners in a classroom, and when they move, they are using their whole body as an input, and that just adds depth to their learning.
And there is teacher Hans Chester, specializing in Native American culture, passing on the importance of his Tlingit roots with many Tlingit children here through centuries-old Tlingit songs.
When we learn our own songs, it wakes that part of our brain up. It wakes that part of our souls up.
And once a week here, there is dancing to the Caribbean-influenced merengue. Boys here taught how to treat a young lady.
The fact that you're not talking also shows respect for your partner.
Well, bake that supper good and brown, lay them sweet taters round and around, sweet taters.
Teacher Rod Christ is a Beach Boys-era local rocker with his own local band outside the classroom, who says the rock band class he holds in Lori Heggie's music room helps her younger violin students to integrate and bond with older fifth graders here. School bullying all but non-existent here, he says, thanks to music bringing everyone together.
A sense of belonging, a sense of respect, a sense of, I respect what you've done. I realize that you've put in your time too. We're all putting in our time. So I think that it kind of gives it an egalitarian playing field for everybody. You know, we kind of feel like we all carry the same value for each other.
And there is the story of young Jarrell here, described when he first arrived here as a grumpy, withdrawn young man. Jarrell has gone through a personal metamorphosis through Heggie's jam program. Recently, before the admiration of his classmates, Jarrell performed a violin solo he composed himself. His new status as one of the most respected and popular kids in school, says Heggie, a testament to how much music can transform a child's outlook on life.
Music definitely engages the whole child, both intellectually, emotionally, socially.
Perhaps no greater example of jam success has been the personal growth made by two physically challenged students here, Ryan, born without much of his right arm, and Lily, a young stroke victim, losing the use of her right arm. Jam has given them a sense of normalcy, says their kindergarten teacher, Joanne Steiniger.
Because they want to do it just like the rest of their friends.
We're pretty impressed. Wow. Did you guys see how well they were doing? They were doing a great job.
It's a testimony to Joanne Steiniger and the school staff about how do we help students who are having some physical challenges to make the violin accessible to them. We're now using sort of a harness and looking into a prosthetic.
Some of Hagee's Jam students recently made their first field trip to a rehearsal of the Juneau Symphony.
You feel that? Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, it's pretty neat. So I don't know, there are a lot of violinists. I think some of you might want to switch to percussion when you're older, don't you think?
The ensemble of volunteer musicians here, from the man from China, music teacher Guoha Shah, to his star student David Miller, capturing the spirit of Jam's philosophy, says Hegee, using music as a vehicle for social change. An orchestra, says Hegee, the perfect metaphor for the ideal society.
Every person in the orchestra serves a different purpose, but together creates something of worth and bigger than anything they could have done by themselves.
Lori Hagee's Jam program, in many ways, she says, a rehearsal for the life awaiting her students one day, preparing them for their main performance on life's bigger stage.
Take a bow.